What's going on, guys? In this video we are going to go over another follower build, and that is with the Enchantress, and this build is otherwise known as the Blindchantress. And we're going to go over the key elements for this build as far as how this can work, why it works, and what it can do for you. Now, the main things that we're going to go over, we're going to cover a couple key points here in the beginning. This goes pretty much universal for all of your follower builds, especially if you are running greater rifts. And this goes into especially the higher greater rifts. Having the focus on your Enchantress to where it says equip on follower, your follower cannot die. Now that's very important because you are going to run that in conjunction with a unity ring, and you'll see there all damage taken is split between wearers of this item, and you yourself will also be wearing that. Now a couple of very important parts of that is the fact that whatever damage you take is going to be split to your Enchantress, and since she cannot die, she can take all the damage in the world. Now the other thing is that as your Enchantress takes damage, you take her damage. Now wait a minute, if there's still a bunch of damage going out there, what do I do? So the main thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that there is no vitality, no life percentage, or anything that's going to increase their life whatsoever on any pieces of gear. You will not find life percentage or vitality on any of these pieces. And that is the main point. Now, she has 66,405 life. No matter how much damage she takes, you know, it can only go so high. And so we're only going to take minimal damage as she takes it. And that's a good way to kind of, you know, maximize your efforts when running the unity ring with your follower. And again, those two key points there. Now, the main item you're going to look for is the Sultan of Blinding Sand. Now, the big part about this, you're going to see in the secondary there, it has a fear chance, and that might be good depending on what build you're running or what class you're running. But the main part is the chance to blind. Now that's going to roll every time on the Sultan of Blinding Sand, and that's very important. It can roll 20 to 40%. Now, obviously you want a higher one, but you know, for the sake of this video, we have it on there. Now, a couple very important pieces of this is that you want to have as much increased attack speed and as much cooldown reduction as you can. You're not going to worry so much about her doing a ton of damage so much as she's going to do crowd control. It's very important when you get to Rift Guardians, Rift bosses, especially just, you know, those big guys when there's one left. Telegraphed attacks that take a little bit, you know, especially, you know, the main one that people reference is Perdition. You know, he charges up and he's about to like charge you or shoot you. This is going to come around so quickly that he's not going to be able to do those things, and you're not going to get one shot by Perdition in a level 30 something, level 40 greater rift. It's just not going to happen that way with her on by your side. Now you might like the Templar, and that's fine, and you each have their pros and cons, but this is giving you guys something a little bit different to do. Now we have increased attack speed and cooldown reduction on there. We don't have increased attack speed on our Unity. However, we did go ahead and roll cooldown reduction on there because we'll go over the skills here in a second why that's important. An Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, these things drop quite often. We have a pretty good roll here as far as the cooldown reduction and increased attack speed. I'm not trying to roll any intelligence on it just yet. Again, I'm not worried so much as the damage she's going to do. We could do that if we wanted. And the S of Johann, now we've got this. We stole it from our Templar because we have increased attack speed and cooldown reduction on there. I know I could put an intelligence gem in there, but we just grabbed it for the sake of this video so you guys could see what's going on. You see there, chance on hit to pull enemies in towards your target and slow them by 80%. So that's a couple things you can do there. You can go with a couple other items if you want. I'm going to show you this in action as soon as we go over this so you can see exactly how it works and a couple benefits of running this build between the blinding, some of the skills, and then of course the S of Johann. Now as far as your skills go, Charm's an enemy to fight for you for 8 seconds. Now if you're wearing an Overwhelming Desire on your character, that would be great. It's not that big of a deal. You can do this because you could go with Forceful Push because it has the knockback on it, and that's great crowd control. That's a very good thing there. You can kind of go either way. I do prefer Charm there depending on, you know, how I'm running, what I'm running, and it's all going to depend on you and your playstyle. Next up, again, this is vastly going to depend on your playstyle because if you're taking a lot of damage from ranged attacks, you know, you'd want to run this. If you know you're going to be in there with melee, this is going to increase your armor by 3% and slow melee attackers by 60%. So it's going to depend on, you know, how you want to run that. I'll let you choose there. Now this one right here, Disorient. Cast a flash of light in an area, causing enemies to be disoriented for 2 seconds. Now this is great crowd control. It's on a 6-second cooldown, but yet, like I said, we've got cooldown reduction on 4 different pieces of gear, which is going to go a long ways to bring that around. Now obviously we can't get it very, very high, but given that we have it on those 4 pieces, this works really well. Like I said, we'll show you here in just 1 second. And then the other part, mass control, this is going to hex enemies in the area into chickens for 5 seconds. Now that's a good long while, and again, we'll show you that. If you're running different builds that are dependent on attack speed, especially if you're running a sentry build where you're trying to hit a break point, you might go with Focused Mine. So that'll kind of depend on the build you're going with. So that's a couple key points, guys. Like I said, the Follower cannot die, your Unity Ring and the Sultan of Blinding Stand, no vitality, no life percentage or anything on any of your gear, and then increased attack speed and cooldown reduction are going to go a long way. So we'll show you this in action real quick so you can see exactly how this works on regular mobs. And then I've got another clip to where we went in and we messed with the Butcher for a little bit, and just kind of let the Enchantress play around with him a little bit, and we'll show you that real quick. And you can basically equate that to a Rift Guardian, and we'll show you that at the end too. So here is the Enchantress messing with some mobs and blinding, hexing, and doing all kinds of fun stuff. So we'll hop into Halls of Agony level 3. Obviously it works to show things off, and there you can see they're all hexed. I'm not casting any sentries because these things would die way too quickly. I wanted to give you guys the effect of what can the Enchantress do. There you can see her, she's attacking at a fairly decent speed. She's not going to die, so I'm not worried about any damage she's taking. Our pet's up there creating a wall. The Enchantress, I guess, got caught back here. There's some more chickens. You can see she's, disorienting stuff. In the process, she's blinding stuff. And we're just going to wander around here in T6 and not worry about taking too much damage. Now, obviously, we have pets that are, kind of bottlenecking stuff. But at the same time, there was the S of Johann. You saw all the enemies get pulled in there. That's the S of Johann that just sucks everything right in, and it's great crowd control. So you've got all these different crowd control effects on your Enchantress. You can still see, they're all disoriented and blind there. There's the S of Johann again. I'm just waltzing around here, not worrying about much. Now, if I wanted to, I'll put 1 sentry down, and everything goes bye-bye. So remember, if you have like a Bane of the Trapped gem, increased damage against enemies that are under the effects of control of parrying effects, that is huge when you're running with this. Now, that goes for a lot of the builds, especially the Templar one. You're trying to find ways for them to increase your damage and save your life at the same time. And this, is just such a great build if you're running higher greater rifts. And like I said, depending on what build you're running, what class you're running, you might go with the Templar, else you have the Blindchantress here to help you out quite a bit. So we'll put a clip in here at the end so you guys can see the Butcher get kind of toyed with for a little bit. We'll wrap this up. Right, so one of the things that we're focusing on is the Disorient spell as far as blinding them. That's why you have the high cooldown reduction. That's why you have the Sultan of Blinding Sand. Obviously, if you could get a higher chance to blind, that's great. So you're going to try and get your attack speed up, get your cooldown reduction up, and this works really well on Rift Guardians and Rift Bosses. We're going to go in here and just kind of mess with the Butcher and show you this in action. And you're going to see her blind him. He's blinded right now. And it basically helps, mitigate a lot of the telegraphed attacks. A lot of the stuff that you're going to see. Now we blinded him there for the charge. He's continuing to be blind. We're actually just letting our pets do damage right now. He got that off, but you can continue to see the stars above his head. And he is just dancing in circles. I'm just running around in here, not taking any damage. And this is one of the biggest benefits as far as running the Blindchantress. She's going to sit there, and our pets are doing a decent job. We haven't put any sentries down. We're not taking any real damage. Occasionally he'll hit us with that. But depending on what Rift boss you're facing, and again, his charge was completely neutralized. So depending on what Rift boss you're facing, some of those that have the long, I guess, kind of delay before the skill is cast, that's the main one. Perdition is kind of the main one that's referenced for this the Enchantress build here. So it's one of the things that can highly benefit you in a greater rift, and especially if you're having trouble staying alive to certain stuff. So I think that right there was a pretty good example. Hopefully that kind of tells you guys exactly how that's going to work, and we'll go ahead and sum this up for you guys. Alright guys, so that was it. That was the Blindchantress build for your follower. So you've got a little bit, you know, different direction you can go as opposed to going with the Templar. The Templar is great for certain builds, but this can also work as well. So hopefully we give you guys a couple different options. If you run something a little different, or you've got a reason why you might be running with a different piece of gear, feel free to leave that in the comments below. I know a lot of people get some information from there. There's a couple of you guys out there that I know are commenting a lot and leaving a lot of good information. So feel free to leave that below if you got anything differently or why you might be doing something a little differently. I always appreciate, you know, that help out. You know, it's a great community, Diablo is. If you like the build and you got anything to comment on that, feel free to leave that in the comments below. And if you don't have anything to say and you do like the build, feel free to hit that like button below, because that is always appreciated. So until next time, guys, happy hunting. We'll see you again.